Hello, everyone. Checking in on the Canadian marijuana sector. Very low volume day today, and pretty much the lowest volume we've seen in 3 weeks. So it was absolutely notable. But the bulls did buy the dip a little bit on CGC at the end of the day at about 12:45. The bulls showed up, or excuse me, 2:45, and then the final hour and 15 minutes of the trading day, the bulls were in control and they closed fairly strong. And you can see that lower wick on the candlestick today, but not entirely convincing heading into next week. Number one, because of the lack of volume, and number two, because of all the selling that took place on the gap up. So we knew to be looking for an entry after the third gap down in a row. 3 gap downs is a bullish reversal pattern because it shows that the bears are exhausting themselves to the downside. Bulls bought that dip in a big way, and we saw way too big of a gap up, in my opinion. The general rule of thumb is gap downs are for buying and gap ups are for selling. So when you see a gap up for 10%, you do not want to be buying that gap up, especially after you saw 25% the day before. So essentially, you're buying into a move. If you bought that gap up after a 35% move to the upside, clearly you're late to the party, and that is chasing. So the gap up open day was a day for selling, and that's exactly how it played out. The gap filled to a penny, and then we saw a little bit of consolidation today, but the bulls showed up. So the key supports on the daily chart going forward are not only the low of today, which for CGC is 1018, but also the middle Bollinger Band on the daily, which is 942, and each day that goes by, it continues to ascend, so you have to update that every day. And also on the hourly time frame, the 20-period moving average on the hourly held for CGC at the end of the day today, and then led to that upside for the final hour and 15 minutes, so that hourly support is a key level as well. So we have our high on the breakout, our low of the pullback, lower high, lower low, now another lower high. So we are still in this little downtrend, and in order for the bulls to prove anything to me in terms of resuming a strong uptrend, they have to break 1404. And I don't foresee that happening in the near-term future. I think we're going to bounce around in the 8 to 12, make that the $8 to $14 range. That's such a wide spread. I do anticipate that we'll be in that range for quite some time. We also have this IPO coming up, Emblem Ipo, set for Wednesday, I believe. It says the 28th on a lot of websites, but the company themselves have said the 30th a couple times. So we'll see what day that ends up being, but there is a lot of interest, a lot of hype, even on the US side. I've had friends open a Fidelity account to be able to trade this name, and the rep knew right away that they asked him, are you looking to play this IPO next week? So clearly they're getting a lot of interest on the US side as well. So EMC is the ticker. EMMCF will be the US ticker. Getting all kinds of questions. I don't know when the US ticker will begin trading after the Canadian ticker begins trading. And I would assume we're going to open at about $1.50 to $2. Need to have your game plan and strategy and time frame all figured out before trading begins. So that was a little sidetrack there. Let's look back at the weekly time frame for CGC. The bulls did buy the dip in a big way, but we could not close above the weekly upper Bollinger Band. This is the first time we have closed below the weekly upper Bollinger Band since the breakout began back in early October. So essentially 7 weeks we've been breaking out on the weekly. Now it's resistance, and next week we have to update this upper Bollinger Band because it's going to be in the 1080s, 1090s, and start the week likely as resistance. So we'll see if that upper Bollinger Band is going to keep a cap on the price and prevent it from breaking out again while we continue to consolidate. APH also still has its middle Bollinger Band support of 517. Declining bear volume is a good sign on this consolidation. Another one where the gap up was for selling after such a big move. So we have again, the same scenario where we have our high of the move, our pullback to the low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So it is a bearish short-term trend still. Obviously, if you zoom out and look at anything more than the last 2 weeks, it is a very bullish trend. But if you're just focused in on since we hit the top, it is still a lower high, lower low pattern. So we're looking at key resistance here of 547 and 588, the high of the past 2 days, bearish MACD cross. And again, that middle Bollinger Band is very important. The weekly time frame, losing the upper Bollinger Band, no longer in breakout mode, same thing. Weekly Bollinger Band will start as resistance into next week. ACB, there's our high and our low, lower high, lower low, lower high. So we have to turn this trend around for the bulls to prove anything. Gap up for selling yet again. Gap filled, decreasing bear volume on consolidation. So if we do start next week with a red day or two, Monday and Tuesday, we will anticipate the bulls to show up. But I do anticipate that the range and the trading opportunity is going to continue to shrink as we reach this equilibrium and things settle down and volume settles down as well. So again, you can see the bull move, obviously huge opportunity to the upside. And then the second bull move we saw here, much less opportunity to the upside comparatively. And we'll see if another bull move has even less opportunity as we continue to tighten up. So ACB on the weekly, since we switched exchanges here, not much to be looking at on the weekly time frame. So the daily time frame is what's important here with that middle Bollinger Band support. You can see we never lost that middle Bollinger Band. For APH, we did close just below it, and for GCG, we did close clearly below it. So APH, or ACB, I should say, never did lose that daily middle Bollinger Band, and that is a good sign for the bulls going forward. MTV also never lost that middle Bollinger Band. It's 508 and ascending, on the verge of a bearish MACD cross here as well. So same thing, our high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Inside candlestick to be watching next week. A break of 561 will be a bearish indication on Monday, and a break of 594 will be a bullish indication. Resistance after that would be 618, along with $6 psychological. And you can see the decreasing bull volume doesn't show a power move to the upside, and that's why we are trading sideways. Weekly time frame for MT, the upper Bollinger Band, 578. We closed below it for the first time in 2 weeks. No longer in breakout mode on the weekly time frame, and again, likely to start as resistance next week. SPRWF, I can't get a chart on SL, so watching the middle Bollinger Band here as well at 110 and ascending. And we have a skipped day, obviously, because of the holiday, but it is going to continue to track the Canadian names. It's just going to skip that 1 day of trading. So we have key support down here, right above that middle Bollinger Band. Resistance is 133. And then the upper Bollinger Band on the daily time frame, which will be in the low 140s to start next week. So still holding up well, still holding that middle Bollinger Band in the weekly time frame. Also, never really had a strong breakout after last week, so that upper Bollinger Band is still resistance 138, and that too will be in the low 140s next week. So the summary is the short-term trend does still belong to the bears in the sense that that lower high and lower low pattern is very key, and you can see it more clearly on the hourly time frame. I don't have a chart prepared to pull up right now to show that, but the hourly chart will show you the high, the pullback from that high, and then this lower high and lower low pattern. So now the bulls need to form a higher low compared to the low of earlier this week, and then make a move back up to break the high of Thursday. So that is what the bulls are looking for. Higher low, maybe the low of today was that higher low because we do see a little bit of a lower wick. We'll know a lot more Monday if the bulls can continue and break the high of today, 1087. But that higher low and higher high is what the bulls are looking for to change the trend that we've seen since the top has been set in. So most of my attention is going to be on EMC next week and trading that name and providing updates to the chat room for that name. But we'll certainly keep checking into all of these names as we want to see what CGC and the entire sector is doing. I appreciate you watching and hope you have a good weekend.